Welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture Podcast, recording live here in London. And for today's special occasion for the UK podcast series, we have the one and only and award-winning architect, Piotr, CEO of MIXD, directly from Poland. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone.
It's a pleasure to have Piotr. Apart from being a friend, he's a true professional. One of the people that have been shaping and shaking also, not only shaping, the industry in the last, let's say, since 2017. So now, we're all curious to know about what's happened, and how did you get into design?
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation, Filippo, and your kind words. Thank you so much. How it all started, I started to design hotels like 10 years ago, but it was a very long road. My own studio I started 5 years ago with Kasia Mayer, who's my co-founder, and now we've grown up to like 40 people working across UK, Dubai, Central Eastern Europe, Uzbekistan, and all crazy places you can imagine. And I'm so grateful for that. I started with a simple hotel project when I started to sketch things in my previous company, and everybody was like, nobody wants to do this concept, why don't you do it? And I was like, okay, why not? I haven't done a single hotel room before. So I started to sketch, I started to do some work, and my boss was saying to me that you have 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks for the concept that somebody is coming, and you need to show something. And I was like, wow, it's kind of not so much time. But fine, let's do it. And we started to do some sketches, some visualizations afterwards. And the guy came from France, and he was like, wow, that's really good design. And I was like, really? You think that? And he was like, yeah. So that was my first project, and it's still built. And I think I've made around, I don't know, many designs, but I still feel that it's the beginning. It's not yet, I still have so much ahead of me in terms of design.
Along the way, your journey and your career, who inspired you?
Oh, there's a lot of inspiration. First of all, I didn't know I will become interior designer. First of all, I working with so many different things. Started with my father as an architect, who inspired me as the first person in my world. He was architect, and I was sitting with him in the office, just seeing him draw. He let me draw a little, so we were just working together. And that's, I think, left me with some kind of creative sense and passion for being busy. And my father was always busy doing projects, talking about projects. He showed me a lot of things, like, let's say, in Vienna. He used to live in Vienna, work in Vienna. So we saw together a work of Hans Hollein, a postmodern architect. And I saw those designs as a 10-year-old boy. And it left me with the impression that it's something important for my father as well. And for me, it created some kind of momentum for me that probably the shapes, colors, creations leave people with a lot of experience and memories, and I felt that it's pretty cool. And then it came to me, many years after. Of course, I told my father I won't be an architect, just because it's not so obvious. And then I came back to architecture. We started to work together. And then but he was doing architecture, and I was like interior design. For other architects who inspired me, I used to work with Marlena, who was a co-founder of very famous Polish studio, KWK Promise, together with Robert Konieczny. And they together started to show me some concepts when I was in study that I worked as her assistant. And she showed me something completely different, like how to design an environment in context. That the context matters. Context of architecture, light, shapes, the plot. So in my work now, I look for a kind of context of work, not only for what is cool or not cool, just something that gives you right decisions, the right choices. And I think Piero Lissoni was one of the inspirations as well, from a very famous Italian architect. There are so many inspirations. In my work, I don't stick to one style. I like to discover different things and just to be based on our real stories or real, let's say, interactions with the things. So I needed to gather a lot of inspirations to become who I am now, and I still don't think I'm, I learned everything. I see so many things to be, that the design is evolving, the world is evolving, so you need to be curious, open for everything.
What was the best advice that your father gave you?
My best advice from my father, there were so many good advice from my father, but I think the best one was he was just learn by doing. Just try do it. He was like, I was like, Dad, I'm not so convinced, I cannot make it. And he was like, don't talk about it, just try to do it. And his approach was like, architecture is about trying and shaping things. Sometimes people tend to see interior design as a very hard subject that is not easy, and I think it's not exactly the case. I think interior design is more about shaping. It's like sculpturing. You start with a very simple things, and then you start to refine, but you can stop at every moment,
I would say what you show me in your portfolio, is very much very pioneer, very explorative. You are an explorer as a designer, you try to go and push the boundaries all the time, so which is great because again, I loved what I've seen, and you can see the passion. Also, the fact that you are very much into lifestyle hotels, luxury hotel, is it something you chose or something that you fell into, as a style? Well, how did you get into, designing these kind of hotels?
This is a funny story because I follow a lot of fashion, and in fashion, lifestyle has been a form of expression of yourself. And in interior design, when I started to design hotels were very bland, boring. Every was the same. And when I started to design, I was like very bored and sometimes very rebel, with the clients and the chains, and sometimes I do tell those stories to people, to my clients, because I was waiting for the right time when people start to be not afraid of telling their real stories, their own taste, their own assertive opinions in terms of the shapes, materials, and everything. And I think the most important thing is to tell your real story with the design. And interior design and fashion industry has merged together just to showcase people. And I think the most important part was when I launched my Instagram. It was around 2017 when stories, like this function, start to emerge. And it was a time that somebody asked me, what do you do for a living? And I was like, I'm an interior designer. And the person was, I would like to see your Instagram account. And I was like, Jesus, I don't have any Instagram account. I was like, wow, I need to have one, probably. So I was launching my studio, and I was like, Jesus, I need to launch my Instagram. So I launched my Instagram account, started to raw stories, posts. And it immediately, I was so amazed by the feedback of people that started to ask me for recommendations. Where should I stay in hotel? I'm traveling to Milan. Which hotel should I stay? Or just random things. And Instagram was my a platform to discuss. And I remember I was invited by so many good clients because of the Instagram. They saw me as a person, not as a studio with experience, blah, blah, blah on the website. They saw me directly and my passion for design as a kind of interesting thing. And I realized that it's not an accident. I realized that those brands and clients will be expecting the same from the world, and people started to share their opinions and some experiments. And I think you see with AI with all those trends, it's still going the same direction, that people tend to share things that are important for them, and it creates value. So I was invited to talks with Ralph Lauren, as I said, with BlackRock Investment, with other people, which were incredible. Like it was crazy ride, because 1 year before, as I said, I was just starting my Instagram account, and then Ralph Lauren called to me and say, not the Ralph Lauren, but the guy from hospitality industry. He told me, Piotr, just come to New York and visit me in the office. Let's talk about some projects. And that was the.
Is it because people start understanding you as a person, as a style, or because you were showing your work? What was the main message that you tried to convey through Instagram?
That's super good question, because I haven't do any. I couldn't share my work from my previous company, so I was like, what should I do now? So I started to share my travels, started to share pictures from other hotels, started to show some random things I think about design and all those things, and people tend to see the whole picture as an interesting background for design, because I had some experience, and it clicked with those people that were looking from the fashion industry, because the fashion industry embraces the authenticity. And I felt like, yeah, this is the right platform to be talking about. So, yeah.
Leading from there, because you use a very important word, which is, I think, is the essence, authenticity. And what do you think is missing nowadays in the luxury space, in the luxury hotel space, from a design point of view, in terms of the industry?
I think we are still missing what fashion has discovered already, that you need to be that brands and hotels need to be embracing you and your taste and people's taste. Like the interaction between people is the most powerful thing in the world. Like the energy flowing between people is the more powerful thing, and that's the reason people create things to express themselves. And the fashion industry has leveraged luxury into different regions, and I think luxury is a choice of telling your truth. If you have a choice possibility, for many regions in the world, you cannot tell your truth because you're not free. You have countries that are not possible to tell your truth. And this is a privilege for us and a responsibility. For me, you, everybody, is to tell a real thing. If you're not telling the real thing, you're losing your time, I think. And in luxury, it's the new luxury is about telling a thing that will embrace the lives of others, that will make the life of others better. And in this dynamics, you can create whatever you want. Wood, metal, fabrics, everything you need if anything you want. But will it be better for everyone? Will you create something that will be not forgotten, something unique, and it will create some, sometimes you enter a room in the hotel and you immediately feel nice. Immediately you resonate. That's the word. You resonate. When you don't resonate with something, I think it's just a flat surface. So I think the work of interior designer for hotels, and I miss in hotels this resonating with things.
If I have to associate your design style with always in the context of luxury, for what I'm seeing, and compare it to a painter, you're more futuristic as opposed to a classic or a Renaissance, because I see a lot of very, bright colors. I see a lot of very defined shapes, and which maybe that's the reason why you said, the early, kind of training, the early learnings with your father, as an architect, maybe defining shapes. So the question I have is, when we're talking about luxury hotels, everybody have in their mind classical things. How do you see the future of luxury hotel design in terms of, are we going to see the same classical things, or are we going to see different things?
I would say that luxury hotel designs should look powerfulness through connection. The powerfulness through connection between people, but also in between nature and yourself. I think when you're traveling, or not only nature, but real experiences. So, for example, when you travel to a destination, you shouldn't be sometimes, let's say, beautiful destination, nature, something really unique location, you shouldn't be distracted by design. The design should be a part of the whole, let's say, context. As we're coming back to this question about architecture also should be a part of the context. Sometimes when the destination is complicated, it's not so easy, maybe it's a city center, so the design should be a part of this and should describe to a guest and show him some complexity in this area. So the design could be a tool of a communication. And I think in luxury, the guests are expecting some more refinement, sophistication, intellectuality, the things that are not so easy to discover. And this layering can be really deep, the same as in art. When you go to a beautiful, museum and you see painting, like beautiful painting, it could be different painting. It could be, Renaissance, but it could be also Pollock. It could be modern painting, and both resonate differently with different people. So I think those properties, those designs should be resonating with the right kind of people that will be coming to this property, but in the same time, they shouldn't kill the vibe, as they say. They shouldn't, be out of touch. But they should be real, so something about, human interaction or interaction with the nature and the environment.
So if we have to associate your style or the way you see through your lenses, through your eyes, the way you see luxury hotels, do you see more hotels as a Tom Ford, as a Jean-Paul Gaultier, or Alexander McQueen? Which of these three styles more you see the luxury hotel heading towards?
I actually think that all of those are incredible in a different way. So I would say, Fords in this city, Alexander McQueen in this city. I mean, you can choose. But the thing that should connect, I'm really into some modern luxury fashion. And I think it's based sometimes on not so easy stories of the creators that has the opportunity to tell their stories through Instagram and through social media now. And people sometimes expect to have something that is a great quality, like a wear, that you can wear it through the travel, but at the same time you need the quality and involvement of certain values by the creator, not some kind of, even some kind of things that will be, destroyed after they will be like 3 days worn, Sometimes you need to have some timelessness in the design, and that doesn't matter what's the style is. So if you want to ask me what my style is, I hope I won't be put into a situation that somebody can describe my style. I try to be every with different project. There was some one of the inspirations I was on. It was the Japanese studio called Curiosity, and in one interview I wrote a sentence, just like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. It was a sentence called, the sentence was, we redefine ourselves with every project. And I was like, that's it. Like, you redefine yourself with every project. It's beautiful.
I like what you said. You don't want people to recognize your style. It means every design is different. Yeah. If they recognize your style, it means there is similarities, right?
Exactly.
Wow. I like that sentence. That is, I don't want people to recognize my style, which is great. It does shows, the kind of, commitment to be different in that way. And I wanted to ask you, which is a topic that a lot of people are aware of, but nobody is able to explain really what is happening on the ground. And I'm heading towards sustainability. How is it Does clients push you or require sustainability in your design, or what is the situation that you see out there in the industry?
I think there's a lot of confusion going on sustainability. I think for my studio, we tended to be a standard approach, a sustainable approach. We need to be aware of the material, the logistic costs, everything that's need to be aware of. Sometimes the reality breaks this into some you need to compromise with the reality of the industry. But I think with every step we try to educate our clients, our partners, on that you can actually prioritize the materials of the second use or just sustainable materials. And with small steps, I think that you can do the difference. I had we designed and this wasn't actually a workplace design, but it was for PepsiCo headquarters, and we started to do very, very, very hard sustainable, very, very rebel design. And those guys told us, like, guys, you need to slow down. We're not yet there yet. We need to be step by step. And this is, I think, if you recognize the pace of the change, in every industry is different, but you need to be a little bit ahead of the pace. Not too ahead, just not break everything apart, but a little bit ahead of the pace, just to make people go into the right direction.
Interesting. So it's not one size fit everybody.
No.
Depends the context and the industry, as you're saying, of where this sustainability practices.
If you want to have a change, I think it will be good to, if you want to have a real change, you need to think about who you're dealing with. What's the industry standard? You need to be a little bit more challenging with the projects, with the standards.
Another topic that the design community seems to have mixed feelings in general, is hotel brand standards. What I would like to ask you is, are in general hotel brand standards restrictive to an interior designer, or does they provide enough flexibility?
Wow, that's a tricky question. I haven't seen a good brand standard yet. That's for sure. But at the same time, when you have a full flexible standards, it's also bad because all designers cannot interpret it. Interpretation of the standards should be specific enough for designers to follow some rules and understand those rules. But at the same time, it needs to have some flexibility to have a room for creation. We had so many discussions with every hotel brand about every brand, and it's so hard to understand sometimes what's the brand is really about, but what's the story, what's the real point. And I think the client, it's not the matter of designer versus the chain or the client. I think it should be distinguished for the guest. The guest should be knowing what to expect or not expect. He would like to. The loyalty of the client relies on the brand standards, and the client expects some flexibility, but it expects that he will be having this comfort around him, that he can expect some certain standard, and this is very tricky, But I think some brands I think every other brand is doing better and better every year to understand what clients like about the brands and dislike.
I want to pick on what you said at the very beginning of your answer, saying, I have not seen yet a good brand standard. What is missing?
Well,
in general, without going to specific.
Yeah, I think the most missing part is the right education. Like, there were some times that we were working with some brands and they were in contact with us. And sometimes when you're educated on the vision of the brand by the brand, it's easier to understand and reinterpret it into a specific context. And sometimes the document cannot show you this sophistication. And that's why interior designers sometimes are confused how to treat this. And I think we should use, I think brands should use some more new technology to tell the brand story. A new, more wide technology, just to use movies, just to use traveling, just to use workshopping with designers and clients to show them the difference, because it's not easy to understand what this brand and this brand. At the same time, clients are becoming more, especially luxury clients, more and more expecting more and more flexibility. The luxury clients has their own vision as well. Sometimes, especially, I think it's the rise of collection brands. There's so many interesting visions put into a brand like package, but at the same time, the owner wants to have his own vision inside. So how to incorporate the client's vision into the brand. So that's and also to educate and talk with all the stakeholders, project managers, interior designers, just to understand what this brand is about.
It's so interesting what you're saying. And a few weeks ago, we had another podcast, same as we're doing with you, and with a couple from Los Angeles that are expert in architectural videos. And what shocked me is that they said that every time they shoot a place, they can very much tell who is the interior designer, but they cannot tell in which brand they are shooting. And I was like, wow. Which perhaps, is part, again, the fact of the lack of education of the consumer of what a brand is all about. But at the same time, the element of the brand don't show in the design itself, because, maybe, there is not enough briefing over there for the people, and you see more the personality of the studio or the designers that, interpret that place in that context, in that positioning, as opposed to, hey, this is what the brand stands for. Is it the same case in fashion, in your opinion, or fashion is more defined?
Fashion is easier to recognize what's this like, but it's easy to tell why. Because in fashion, you have this creator, or the brand is creator. So he owns the product. He knows how to express the values which are behind. And in hotel design, the values are not yet so easy to understand. Answering to your question, I think it would be easier for designers and clients to also have talking about values more, not only shapes, colors, blah blah blah. Documents like 400 pages, values. Why are we doing this? Who's it for? Where is it for? Like simple information. And I think interior designers will be the first who will translate these brand values into the interior design and communicate to guests, so guests could recognize, some kind of style in the brand, because the brand should have style. I don't think, personally, I like working with different styles, but at the same time, what I like is values. If somebody has a values, that's good. It's the same with brands, and I think those values are super important. And in fashion industry, you can immediately recognize what the brand is or what the designer is willing to tell, not only because of the expression, colors, but also about marketing, the retail stores, how they look like, but also about the social media marketing. Like through social media, you can tell so many beautiful things to people. People, start to complain about TikTok, and people, kids spending time on TikTok and Instagram being more awful every year. But I think, when you discover the right creators or the right brands you want to follow, so the social media flips immediately in terms of experience for you. And it's a great platform, a great occasion to tell the values. It's no better way to interact with designer to client, client to designer, person to person. So I think we'll be seeing more and more interesting creators to emerge.
Now you're very busy in the Middle East. I know you're doing projects in Dubai and other areas, and there's a lot of demand for your services because of your style. What is in the bucket list for MIXD and for Piotr? What is next in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we would like to be more and more present in Dubai. I love this area.
So I know you're very busy in the Middle East, and you're doing a job all over the place. But what is in the bucket list for Piotr, for MIXD?
We would like to be more present in Dubai and Middle East because we love the area, and Africa. We love those beautiful places, beautiful people, and for MIXD, we're launching a new brand which is called Alchemia, to dive even more deep into the storytelling and work and creating some concepts with clients, and which will be refining even more some of the concepts for luxury and lifestyle. And I hope for I see our company growing together with some beautiful people, which are, our team is so great. So I love every day elevating my people, just to be able to work with everyone around the world. And I couldn't be happier just for the next couple of years, just to meet new clients and be able to do what I do right now. We have no plan for like expansion or something like that. We just want to discover new things, and based on that, we will see where should we work.
Since you are a fan of Dubai and you like the area, if I put a huge white canvas on top of Burj Khalifa, what message would you write in there so that everybody can see it?
I would say luxury is a choice. Luxury is a choice. Let's do this choice together. Let's work together on a design as a form of communication. Let's design together a luxury of tomorrow.